Excuse me as I wipe eye crust off my eyes. I literally woke up about 15 minutes ago. What's one of the most important things that we can pay attention to that's not food that can impact our health and our well-being? Something that I make sure to pay very close attention to, and that is our light exposure. Specifically in the morning, which is the topic of conversation for this video, one of the best things that we can do, one of the best things that I've done for myself is making sure that I get proper sunlight or light exposure in the morning as soon as I wake up or as soon as I can. And one of the best ways to do that is getting full spectrum natural sunlight straight from the sun. So between 7 and 8 a.m., usually when I wake up on days that I'm not working, you will find me as naked as I can be outside in the sun, looking towards it, saturating myself with those photons and those light rays from the sun. For a couple different reasons. When the photons hit the retina of the eye, go into the brain, activate certain glands, the pituitary, the hypothalamus. It starts the production of cortisol and inhibits the production of melatonin so that we actually wake up. Look, if your body is not properly aligned, if your circadian rhythm is completely disrupted, your body doesn't know when to make certain hormones at the right times of the day, which can have just a cascade, a domino effect of negative health things that I personally have experienced. Now, again, none of this is medical advice. This is all simply my findings, but if you look into it and if you experience it, it's very, very beneficial. Not only has my sleep significantly enhanced, I sleep amazing whether I sleep 12 hours like I did last night or 6 hours on work days. My sleep is always really good because of my proper light exposure. Like I said, sunlight is one of the best ways to do that. But not only that, when you're outside grounded, saturating yourself with these light rays, you can have, and turn it into a meditation session, you can have some really powerful emotional, spiritual experiences that I have personally experienced just in my backyard, simply just sitting in the sun, setting the right intentions, having the right thoughts, doing the work. Now, a question that I often get asked is, hey, what do you do if there's no sun in the morning where you live? Maybe you live in Seattle or a northern part of the world, or maybe it's overcast or in the winter and it snows and the sun's not out. Fortunately, I do live in Southern California where the sun is out pretty much 360 days of the year every morning. So I'm super blessed for that, but there's little tricks for that. That's the topic of this video, is not just what you can do when you have the sun, but what do you do when you don't have the sun, such as that. That's basically the sun in a little box. This is where you will often find me in the morning when I wake up before the sun, or if the sun is not out, sitting in front of my happy light, sipping on some pu'er tea to get a nice little caffeine boost along with some L-theanine to give me that calm, zen-like focus. I do often wake up before the sun 5 days a week. I wake up at 3:30 a.m. So about 4, obviously the sun is not out. By 3:45 a.m., this is essentially what I'm doing, sitting at my desk with this thing close to my face at an angle, sipping on some caffeine so that I can go to work in 15 minutes. But on my off days, like today, it's about 6:30 a.m., and here I am. Now, this, I want to make very clear, this mimics sunlight in full spectrum, natural sunlight. I'm going to get to why that's important in a second and why this device is pretty awesome. But I want to be clear, this does not replace the sun. If you can, don't be lazy, okay? Don't be lazy. If you can go outside and the sun is out, go get it. At 7:15 a.m., when I can start seeing the sun come above my neighbor's house, I'm getting out there and I'm putting my feet in the ground and I'm looking towards the sun. I'm going to take my shirt off. I'm going to make sure I get that sunlight, even though I'm doing this, okay? So I want to make that very clear. This is not a replacement for the sun. The sun is very powerful, very beautiful. The sun has been demonized. Heliotherapy is real. Just Google that, look into the history of that and the benefits and the healing that the sun can bring. But I want to focus a little bit on this light because I know that a lot of people don't have sun in the morning where they live, especially at this time of the year. Winter blues and seasonal affectiveness disorder, SAD, is a very common thing. They say, I think I was reading some studies, about 15 to 18% of people who live in northern regions experience SAD or the winter blues. Now, why do the winter blues happen? This does not apply to people who are just experiencing the winter blues, okay? Because if you're not experiencing it, don't worry. This applies to you as well because I'm going to break down how this actually works. But our brain chemistry is affected by light, as well as our body's internal body clocks. Whether that light is from a natural or unnatural source, the light is still an influence on our hormone production, neurotransmitter production. It still influences many things in our bodies that can either make us feel really good or feel really bad. And to be honest, most people are light deficient. Not only are they light deficient, but most people are light toxic. Most of us spend our time indoors under fluorescent lights, LED lights that mimic the 12 p.m. color temperature of the sun. Most of us are looking at our screens on our phones bright as hell as soon as we wake up. Most people are light deficient, right? So number one, they're not getting sunlight, but they're light toxic. They're getting way too much excess blue and artificial light from unnatural sources. So going back on the brain chemistry and body clock thing, our circadian rhythm, there's a couple things that trigger our circadian rhythm or that can help align it, or that can help align it. Number one is sun. Number two is food. So having a breakfast, if you're changing time zones, can actually help you adjust to that time zone. But using something like this early in the morning when there's no sunlight, if there's no sunlight where you live, does a couple of things. So sunlight period or proper light exposure period when we wake up tells cortisol production to start. So when we're sleeping, we have melatonin pretty high. Cortisol is low, obviously, because we're asleep. So what happens when we wake up and we get the proper stimulants, when we get the proper signals from light, melatonin turns off, so it's regulating melatonin production, the sleepy hormone, and cortisol production goes up. It gets a nice spike in the morning to wake you up, to make you alert, ready for the day. That's why they say don't have caffeine. That's why a lot of people say, based on your chronotype, don't have caffeine, too soon after waking up. Usually wait an hour, but sometimes you just need the boost. I actually use caffeine as soon as I wake up on work days as another circadian rhythm cue. So cortisol spikes to wake us up. That is influenced by light that can help regulate these things. And then also what's happening is this light is the photons are hitting the retina in our eye, which are going to our brain, which are going to certain glands in the brain that activate and send out these hormones, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, the pineal gland. What they also tell your brain to do is not just spike up cortisol, turn off melatonin, but also, hey, produce some serotonin, the feel-good hormone. It also says, hey, in about 12 to 15 hours, can you make some more of that melatonin thing so that we can go back to bed? So the importance of AM sunlight or light period is very, very crucial. And it's something that I've been implementing over the past about the last year or so. And it's completely shifted me. This is one of those things that goes beyond food, that impacts our health and wellness at a very high level that, like I just said, is more important than food, in my opinion. Go do your own research. Don't believe anything I say. Look into the studies, look into the data, and number one, just experience how you feel once you start paying attention to your light exposure. This stuff is powerful, and there's a reason that there are products out there like this, because they work. Some products are complete quackery, absolutely, but when they are based behind science and actually helping people improve their well-being, and there's actual biochemistry behind it, it just makes complete sense. So that's why a lot of people get seasonal effectiveness disorder, because their hormone productions are all fucked up. They're not producing serotonin at the right times, cortisol at the right times, melatonin at the right times. Not only that, but nowadays I expect, my personal opinion, my personal thought here, that seasonal effectiveness disorder, the winter blues, are going to skyrocket and are actually going to not just go from September to February, but that period of time is actually going to elongate because of the light deficiency that most people have just throughout the year period, but also of the light toxicity that we have all the time in this modern world. That's why things like this, proper sunlight, blue blockers, red LEDs at night are super powerful. All plants and animals need proper and regular full spectrum light exposure from the sun or from something like this to maintain proper and healthy biochemical balance and just optimal health and well-being, period. Not only that, but because of the whole melatonin production and melatonin regulation and hormone regulation, you're going to sleep a lot better with this. Me personally, once I started doing the light practices, my sleep has significantly increased. And like I said in the intro, whether I get 12 hours or 6 hours of sleep, I sleep absolutely amazing because I pay attention to things like this. If I turn this light off, you can see it's pitch black in my bedroom. That's because I sleep in a pitch black room, which helps get better sleep. So a couple more facts on this light. I was walking through Barnes & Noble doing some Christmas shopping for my daughter. I saw this, and I've always stressed the importance of sunlight to my girlfriend, but I understand that it's not going to happen every day. I'm a little extreme. I make sure to get the sunlight no matter. If I see the sun pop out, I drop what I'm doing, even when I'm at work. I work in a warehouse. At 7 o'clock, when I can see through the big gates where the trailer's attached to the warehouse, when I can see the sun come up, I go on break and I go outside and I get the sun every single morning, no matter what. But I understand most people aren't going to make it that high of a priority, or perhaps there's just no sun like that where you live. So as I was walking by, I saw this. And I was like, you know what? Before I buy it, I need to make sure it's legit. Went to the bathroom, sat on the toilet, and Googled this as I was there at Barnes & Noble because I wanted to buy it then and there, but I wasn't sure if it was legit. And I said, you know what? It's only 50 bucks. Let me buy it. Bought it, went home. I tested it for myself for 2 mornings before I wrapped it for her because I wasn't sure if I was going to give it to her or return it. What happened after those 2 days is I went back to Barnes & Noble, bought another one for myself because I liked it so much. So, for example, she would probably use this in the mornings as a light to do her makeup before work, which is a very powerful thing. The dose for this is, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, but I would say right around 30 minutes at a close distance. There's only one little drawback, not drawback, but just a way to use it, is that it does have to be somewhat close, within 24 inches, as close as 4 inches. So the farther that you are, the longer you need your dose to be, the longer you need to sit in front of it. The closer that you are, the brighter the intensity. So the shorter duration you need to be in front of it, okay? I sit in here for about 30 minutes, and then when I'm done sitting in front of it, what I do is I just keep it on and I use it as my light to get dressed, to prep myself and do all that. So I use this as my actual just light source in the morning as well. You can use this, in my opinion, all the way up to about 12 p.m. Even in the instruction booklet, it says don't use it after, in the afternoon, because this is a signal to your brain that, hey, it's daytime. It's time to focus, to concentrate, to get energized. And if you do that too late in the day, obviously then you're going to have trouble sleeping. It's the circadian cue. So I would suggest using this around the same time every day. That's going to really help your circadian rhythm. If you're someone like me, though, who 5 days a week you wake up at, in the middle of the night, and then another 2 days of the week you're waking up at a regular 6 a.m., 7 a.m. wake time, obviously I'm switching things up there, but that's just, you make it practical, okay? Don't be too caught up in the details. Consistency is key. As long as you use it on a daily basis, you are doing yourself some good. Now, another thing that I was concerned about was the actual light bulb itself. I get it that it's full spectrum. It has all the colors of the electromagnetic wavelength of the sun. It mimics that other than the UV. But the actual light bulb itself, is it LED? Is it fluorescent? And does it flicker? Because a lot of people are gaining awareness on the color temperature of light and blocking blue light and doing all this. But a lot of people aren't aware that the actual flicker, the intensity of the flicker of the light, can be damaging to our mitochondria as well, that can actually sap our energy. So most typical LEDs or fluorescent lights have a really high flicker rate. And you can actually test this on some iPhones. If you record in slow motion at a high frame rate, and then you play it back, you can see, I'm sure you've seen it before, the lights, they flicker in the background. The camera can detect it. Our eyes can't detect it. I'm sorry, we can't detect it, but our eyes can, and our energy levels can. So what's really cool is that did some digging, and even in the manual and online, the light bulb that they are using, it's a very specific one that they manufacture, is flicker free. It has no flicker rate. That was one of my main concern. I was like, okay, cool, it has the right colors, but does it flicker? So that's why I like this one. It's also really affordable. I bought it at Barnes & Noble for 50 bucks. And then when I went back to get the second one, the next day was only like 39 bucks or something like that. I think that was a sale because it was Christmas time. But you can actually find this on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description down below. It is an Amazon affiliate link, small commission towards me, no extra charge for you. I have no sponsorship or anything by Verilux or Happy Light, whatever the official name of their company is. I just really like this. And there's probably more out there, but those are things to look for, is does it flicker and how much does it cost? We need to make this thing very practical and affordable in our lives, okay? Again, link is in the description for this thing to find it on Amazon. If you want it right away, go to Barnes & Noble. They might have it. Search it up. Monitor how you feel on it. I feel my best about this distance. I don't know how many inches this is. 20 maybe. For about 30 minutes. Sometimes I go all the way up to an hour. But monitor how you feel. If you are sitting close to it and you start to feel edgy, or you start to feel a little too energized, which happens, You might just be more sensitive to light than others. Monitor, maybe sit a little bit farther on a shorter duration, okay? Or maybe you are someone that needs to be close and likes the effects and can do super close for a shorter duration. So monitor how you feel, but overall, I'm super happy with this. If you're experiencing winter blues, SAD, anything like that, you don't have sun where you are, even if you're not experiencing those things, proper light exposure is very important. And if you can't do the sun, don't be lazy, get the sun if you can. This is a great, cheap, or I should say affordable alternative. Now I know this is very unattractive video lighting. Light is directly above my face, so it's making all these shadows, but bear with me here. I wanted to give you another just quick little tip. Something really cool that I found on Amazon are these red LED flicker-free light bulbs. And this is just a quick bonus tip. This is something that you can implement as your evening light source because red light does not interfere with melatonin production. Blue and really bright white light does, as I just explained with the happy lights. If you're looking at phone screens, if you're using bright LED fluorescent lights as lighting in your house or in your bedroom at night, guess what you're doing? You're ramping up cortisol production, you're turning off melatonin production for as long as 4 hours. So something like a Himalayan salt lamp, which you saw in the intro briefly, something like these flicker-free red LED light bulbs, super beneficial, or something as simple as candles. I don't remember how much these were. I think I paid 30 bucks for a pack of 6. I think that was the price because individually they're about $6 a piece, I think. I just bought a pack of 6. I'm only using 4 at the moment. But it's a really good investment to have as a nice bright light source so you can actually see stuff that's not going to interfere with your melatonin or with your sleep schedule. And voila, editing magic, here we are at the beach. I'm doing this so that I can get my morning sun exposure. I wanted to do it at the beach as it's my day off. Got to be honest with you though, I can't feel my toes. It's about 40 degrees, which here in LA means fucking freezing. A couple things I want to know before we close off this video is that as we practice things such as sun gazing or sunbathing or making sure that we're watching our light exposure, we also want to make sure that we're getting fatty cuts of wild seafood. Things like wild caught salmon, sardines, oysters are amazing. All these things are super high in EPA, but also more specifically DHA, which allow us to better hold a charge that we get from the sun. We also want to make sure that we're getting fat-soluble vitamins that are found in things like raw grass-fed butter, raw milk. All these, healthy, sustainably raised animal foods, A, D, E, and K, the fat-soluble vitamins, they have protective effects. Not only that, but if you're eating wild fish, you're getting also things like astaxanthin, lutein, zeaxanthin. These carotenoids, these antioxidants help the retina absorb photons from the sun. So that way we make sure we're getting protective benefits as well, just in case you get too much sun exposure, but also to make sure that we're reaping all the benefits from proper sun exposure. So I know that this video is more specifically on that light box, which is very beneficial, but as I said, I did that this morning when I woke up before the sun, but here I am still getting the sun because I can. So if you can, make sure you do that. Always prioritize the sunlight before any other, even things like that lamp box. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you found any interest, holy shit, it's really cold. If you found any value, I would appreciate if you went ahead and hit that subscribe button, click the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video, which is weekly. I appreciate you, I love you, and have a great rest of your week.